Welcome, everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, and you're watching Glenda's Dragon's Den. I just want to say thank you to everyone who is here every single Wednesday night and who shares it. And for those that watch it later, we truly appreciate you and are blessed to have you as subscribers and also as people who send us messages and emails to let us know what you think of each guest. I love the feedback, and of course, I send it to our guests if that is what you wish. Tonight we have a phenomenal guest, Dr. Gail-Skywalking with Moon, and she'll go over all that with you. She is a very different experiencer with with the galactic beings or galactic family, and she also has healing modalities and does other podcasts as well. So let's welcome her, Dr. Gail. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Glenda, for having me. And I
Thank you.
like different. And I do have a lot. And the thing about me is I'm allowed to remember my experiences, and don't know why, but I've been fortunate to be allowed to remember since 2020. I've been allowed to remember my experiences with the extraterrestrials, whether I'm dreaming or meditation. And then it didn't have to be any of that. It was like in my face. I could turn the dial almost like on the radio station, and I'm with them versus or over here in real life Earth. So yes, my extraterrestrial experiences is very extensive.
Hmm.
So I want
So
to talk about my background first because people
yes.
really think, okay, here there's the cuckoo girl over here talking about her extraterrestrial experiences, which it is so far from my background because my background is a nurse. I worked in the operating room for many years.
Hmm.
And then I went back to school to become a chiropractor, opened my office, practiced chiropractic. But then I had to retire from both to take care of my dad who had dementia. So that took all my time. That was an 8 year journey taking care of him. And then after he passed away, so my life had always been medicine, science, medicine, science. That was me. And that is my direction. And so when he passed in 2019, it was October 2019, we actually went in March in 2020 with COVID. And it was the first time I wasn't taking care of anybody. I was alone with two pets, and I think I was the only person who was excited to be alone by myself, taking care of my two pets because I had always been the one putting my energy out for everybody else. And this was the first time it was just going to be me, taking care of me. And of course, I made this long list of things to do. And on that to do list was like paint my deck on the back of my house. And of course, go on a diet, but that was out the window. And then it was also learn Spanish. I was going to learn Spanish. And I had this whole long list of things. And one of the things on the list was meditation stuff. And that's how I labeled it. Let me try this meditation stuff. And I decided that I wanted to try that because my life had always been very stressful from,
Right.
everything I had done had been very stressful work. And so I thought, I need to go within, start going within and trying to try this out. So that's what opened my world up. When I started meditating, I started meditating in March of 2020. And by the time 20, June 2020, my whole world had changed. Now, my background had always been that I was a closeted medium, which
Hmm.
I ever talked about anything that was, um, of the other world that I was seeing ghosts or I knew ghosts around or I knew somebody who had passed was around. I was always laughed at and just said, you're crazy. And I kind of would shut it down. But whenever 20 and I was in by myself, there was nobody to shut it down. There was nobody around,
Hmm.
peer pressure or anything type. So when I was started meditating, I met my dad who had passed. I knew he was around, but I had always been able to smell whoever's around who had passed. But all of a sudden, I was able to see him. I was able to see him. And then we were able to create a place to meet every day to talk about family, life, and money, which is really good at. We were talking about money and family. And so we would create a place by a river to go meet and sit down and just chit chat. And it's just like he was sitting next to me talking. And from that, I would say that started maybe in March. By June, when I was sitting talking to him, this little petite little blue being walked up and sat next to me. And I'm going, who's this thing? My dad didn't flinch. My dad didn't say anything. My dad didn't run her off. It was just really strange. She was only about 5 feet tall. She was blue. And the biggest feature about her, she had this kind of like crown looking thing on top of her head that moved like jello when she talked. So I sat there and was mesmerized by the way her head moved when she talked. And and she was a chatty Cathy. She was very friendly. She just talked about nothing that I could even remember that she talked about, just talking. And then she got up and left. My dad didn't say anything, didn't not even boo, whatever, nothing. He didn't say anything. So probably a week later, I missed a whole big part. I had, probably before even I met the extraterrestrial, I had one day when I was meditating, an angel show up in my face and trying to present me with a bracelet. She kept trying to hand it to me. And when she was handing it to me, there's this bright light around her. It was blinding. And it shocked me so badly, I came jumping off that couch. I didn't know what had happened. I have one metaphysical friend at that time who I worked with for over 15 years. And so I went to her about it, I was sheepishly going, Meg, this is what happened. Can you tell me what happened about this angel? I was really embarrassed to talk about it, but she was the only one I knew I could. She was laughing at me because I kept going, I must have a brain tumor. Something. I need an MRI. She says, you're going through a spiritual awakening. And I'm going, I didn't even know what that was. I was Googling spiritual awakening when I was leaving her, embarrassed that I didn't even know what that was. And then I started meeting the extraterrestrials. I would go straight to her and go, this is what I met. Tell me what it is. And she would say, and I kind of think that might be an Arcturian you met. Then I met a gray hybrid, and it was just a whole parade of different extraterrestrials I was meeting. Probably once every couple of weeks, I meet a new one, including reptilians and everything. And red butterflies, these giant red butterflies, I even met them. So it was a parade of them. By the time it was a couple of months later after starting them, and I kept asking each one of them, especially the insect or the mantis being, I kept going, why me? Why is this happening? And they would not give me an answer. They'll go, you're not ready for the answer yet. And so one day things changed when I went hiking with dogs. I had two dogs at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And in the back of the car, next in the passenger seat was a mantis being waiting for me to get in the car. The dogs didn't flinch, so I knew he was okay. Mm-hmm. So he went in the car with me, which he filled up that passenger seat. And he was asking me if I would work with them. And we stopped at a farm where I always got my fresh fruits and vegetables when I was going home. Also, the baked goods were there, and the brownies, of course, were calling me because they had great brownies. And so I went in and got my stuff, and I Mantis meeting was still sitting there, and there was nobody else around. So we sat in the car, and I'm eating my brownie. We're sat in the car, and he was asking me if I would work with them again. And I was going, well, what do you want me to do? He says, you'll be the communicator. You can communicate between the extraterrestrials and the humans. And I'm going, okay, I've been trying to learn Spanish for 2 months now, and I'm not getting anywhere with it. How am I going to learn all these extraterrestrial languages? But I was going, I'm in, I'm willing. Okay, I'll do that. When I said yes, and I would do it, I was immediately thrown into this building, following this guy down a hallway. And I didn't know what had happened, but I'm following this guy on the hallway, and on the left-hand side, each room had a different extraterrestrial in it. Like one had a reptilian, a gray, and I was looking in these windows, seeing these different ones. And then I came to one of the windows, and it was another mantis being, and it's the one that I had originally met way back in the parade of mantis or the extraterrestrials I was meeting. And I was upset, and I could hear everybody talking, and I was hearing these conversations happening between everybody. And I looked at the guy that was walking in front of me, and his mouth wasn't moving, so he wasn't talking, he wasn't making the words or sounds. And the mantis being that I knew, he told me, "Be quiet." He says, "Don't let them know you can hear us." And I didn't, and I'm realizing I'm hearing, understanding the whole conversation they were all having between all of them, and this guy didn't understand any of it, and so I didn't know what was happening there either. But anyway, I looked at the guard and I said, "You've got to release this guy, this mantis being. You need to release him. He's a friend of mine. You need to let him go." Hindsight, I wish I had not said that, because then that was like all the guards came running to me and taking me off because of I was kind of throwing a fit. I was not calm about it,
Mm-hmm.
and they took me into an office, and I knew at that time that the extraterrestrial, that praying mantis, said that I was the communicator between the extraterrestrials and the humans. And I sat in that office and it finally started clicking that I understood what they were saying, and now I understood how I could be the communicator. All these humans could not understand what they're saying, and so they knew I was a communicator. The supervisors, so they
Mm-hmm.
had a gift that they wanted. So I said, if you wanted me to help you, you're going to have to let that guy go, let that mantis being go. So they planned it, and I've got a book all written about all my things here. So they planned it where they had me where I could sit and see. I was in the lounge where I could sit and watch them release him, but we knew that they were going to actually capture him after he left. After I saw them leave, they were going to capture him where I couldn't see him. Well, I was communicating with a spaceship above that was going to get him. Anyway, long story short, he escaped. They came running to me, wanted to know what happened, and I sat there and just pretended like nothing. And so I left. So that was my first mission, which began a whole series of missions of going into these Area 51 type places all over the world, rescuing the extraterrestrials who were sick and dying. I would go
Right.
in and get them, and with a crew. I wasn't by myself. I had a whole team going in with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. So,
Well, I learned to fly space. That all these missions are in that first book.
right. Okay. And what stands out to you the most out of all your missions so far?
What's Oh wow, I don't know. Maybe um, I would say the hardest mission that I did was when I was
Mhm.
saving a human from the extraterrestrials, from reptilians. That would have been my hardest one because I had to face moral dilemmas and how to rescue her. That was really tough. That was really tough for me. It
Mm.
was like 12 hours of planning, and it was really tough. That was tough.
I could understand. That's now you said you had two books anyway, so I'm gonna start right off with that. The first book is the one about the extraterrestrial rescue missions.
Rescue
That's really
missions. Mhm.
right. And now the second one is more about healing.
No, the second book is when I became a interplanetary liaison,
Okay.
and what that was going to different planets and stars, listening to their complaints and taking those complaints back to the Galactic Federation, and trying to see if I could help take care of the problems. Earth had the most complaints of all the stars and planets. But yes, so that's what my second book was about, is all those different planets and stars that I went to, and the issues that they had, and how and just showing what kind of beings live there and their habitat, those kind of things. That kind of opens your eyes up of how many different things are out there.
Yes, yes, it does. And it's hard to believe that anybody could think we're the only ones in this
Yes.
galaxy of one, a galaxy of many other galaxies. It's like, like, but, you know,
I was
um,
I would say the most interesting one in that book was the ones that look like these giant amoebas. And when we came off the spaceship and saw them, I'm going, is that who we're meeting? And they scooted along the ground, and they actually lived in the water and would come up on the ground. It was just really, they were really, really strange. But that they did, that was one of the inhabitants of one of the stars.
wow, that must have been really interesting.
Yeah, it was.
A little weird at first, but I'm sure very interesting. Just
There's a
even
lot
the
of
way.
There's one of them I had to travel. I had to hang on to. He was so tall, like a giant. I had to hang on to his foot, or sit on his foot and hang on to his ankle to travel. So that was that's interesting. This is all in my second book.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. So, what inspired you to start letting the world know you could see and you could hear and all that?
Well, I they kept pushing me whenever they wanted me to do something. They start kind of tapping me on my shoulder, and then it's
Hmm.
that tap gets a little stronger and stronger and stronger. They first asked me to write, um, not a podcast, whatever it is, the other guest, to write a blog. Write a blog. So I tried writing a blog, and I was terrible at it. Terrible, 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 terrible at it. So I decided that I would compromise and do a YouTube channel, and that's what I did. And so I started it having no expectations of it, but it was just a place for to make it comfortable. My stories were
Hmm.
so crazy and out there that other people would be able to come forward and talk about theirs, and being a safe place to talk about it. So that's how I started. I just started putting out some videos of
Hmm.
what I did in my missions and things like that. And then eventually I went live and would, to talk to people and also bring other people who've had some, um, some things that they've experienced also.
Mm,
So I just tried to
very.
making it easier. Now, I was had a struggle with it for a long time because I do healings also, and
Mhm.
I was doing a healing show once a month on my and then it's Dr. Gail-Skywalking with Moon is my channel for extraterrestrials. But then I decided to separate it, so it's given me a lot more freedom. And my second channel, which I have started with a friend of mine named Terry, at Holding Your Space,
Mhm.
she and I are collaborating together to create the healing channel, which is called Galactic Gaia. And that is where we'll be interviewing all different types of healers and have some healing shows also. And it's to create a library of different healers, because we all don't know what each other does or how we do it or what we call ourselves. I mean, we all come out and get the end game of the results, but we go about it differently. And then some people specialize in this area and some people specialize in that area. And so we're trying to create a library where people be able to go and see a little 10-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute clip on somebody and know who they are and what they do. And so we had
Mm.
started that channel a month ago.
Wonderful, wonderful. And it helps also because those that may be looking for somebody specifically,
Right,
not knowing where to even go,
right,
can just, say, okay, I'm looking for, I don't know, meditation, because not everybody knows how to meditate.
right.
I've learned that the hard way. So,
I can't say I'm an expert meditator either, but I do have an easy access to connecting. I connect easily, but I can't say I'm
right.
the best meditator either.
No, I have this. one person who every single time he comes to my meditations, within 3 minutes he's snoring. I'm like, yep. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I leave it as well. You still get the benefits of it. You were
Well,
relaxed enough.
well, sometimes the best connection is when you're in between that going to sleep and waking up.
Yeah.
So, he might be connecting more than the people who stick through the whole meditation.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe so. I believe so. So now this the healing that you do. How is how does that look for you? How does that? What exactly do you do on?
Well, I call myself a star seed healer, and that encompasses everything because I have different modalities because I have a nursing background.
Hmm.
I worked in the operating room. I've seen all the organs. I've touched, felt hearts, brains, everything been involved in. So, and medically, we look at just the organ or the place of pain, basically, and work with that. Then I went back to chiropractic school, and that opened me up to organ. You have you have a brain, and you have a brainstem, and you have a spine, and you have all these nerves coming off of that go to all these different organs and places and bones and joints and tendons. Anyway, if any of them are affected, it affects that organ. So if any nerve is like pinched or pressed, that can affect the organ or any other
Hmm.
place. So it gave me a way of looking at the whole body as a whole instead of just one single organ. So then when I went to when my awakening came, I was teamed up with a girl who was with me on my missions, and she was an energy worker. So she taught me energy. I had like a 6-week crash course on energy. So I started pulling all that together where, I had the medical part where I knew what the
Hmm.
organs look like. And also I can see people's x-rays without seeing the x-rays. And I had my chiropractic where I see all the nerves innervating all these different areas. And then had the energy where everything could be corrected by energy. And so then when I eventually started working on a spaceship, which is called the Astro Medical One, was the first spaceship I started working on. And it was a medical spaceship.
Hmm.
And it was also a hybrid spaceship. It dealt with all different extraterrestrials. And I was a neurosurgeon on that spaceship, and my specialty was implants, putting in, taking out implants. And so we did a lot of brain surgery where we changed some brain waves. There's a lot of things I learned how to do on the spaceship. One of the big things about it, everybody went under color therapy. Everybody had some kind of color therapy that was going on while the procedure was occurring. At the very end, everybody had blue light to calm the
Hmm.
nervous system down, which was allowing the body to heal itself.
Hmm.
And also, we had a chakra machine. The chakras were really important. That we would clean out the chakras, and then we would rebuild them or clean them or whatever needed to be done on the chakras. They were really important. So I learned how important all these different things were to your body and your aura. So all these things between my nursing, doing my chiropractic, my energy, to learning about all the things how they do it on the spaceship, all that is I've integrated it all in together, and created my own style, which I put it in the blanket heading of a starseed healer.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, personally, I'm going to ask you: did the starship that was so a hospital? Let's just say that
Mhm.
a healing facility. Did it have like the windows all around so students can watch, or
No, the one
no?
I was in only had one window in the door.
Okay.
And that was it, where people could go in, but most people didn't go in like that or watch, because what you're kind of describing is a spaceship where they're teaching, a teaching kind of where
Mm,
everybody everything, like a hospital when you're in a hospital that has it's a
right.
hospital, and they're in a kind of an auditorium, um, um, operating room where everybody's watching. this wasn't like that. That spaceship was not like that. But and also when they saw the blue light on, they knew the surgery was about to end. So
Mm.
that was a clue. But I got to create my operating room. I was like when they in my office, I got to decorate it. They said you can decorate it however you want, and I'm going, how do you decorate a spaceship? How do you decorate? How do you go shopping? And then they took me over to this panel where you could just push buttons. Just created. I was like, oh my gosh, I wish we could do that on Earth. But so I was able to create, what my office looked like and what my operating room looked like. And the reason why they had that is it needed to change for each species, like
Right.
humans and grays and like the Pleiadians, we all kind of like the same kind of scenery. But then when it came
Hmm.
to reptilians and insectoids, they're kind of like the green, grassy, but the reptilians like more of the um, deserty kind of feel. So I
Hmm.
changed my operating room to meet the needs, what make each one uncomfortable.
Wow, that's great. That is really good. It's amazing. You are, like I said, I did say different in the very beginning, uh,
Well,
because most,
there's a lot of people who are doing these things, I think.
yeah.
They just don't remember it. I'm just not real sure why I remember it, but I did eventually because I kept going, why me? Why me? And they would answer, because you look human. And I was just going, what in the world do they mean? Of course, I look human. I'm human. But I was the only human looking one on the spaceship, the first spaceship I was on. I was the only human looking one on there. And, but eventually I understood what they meant. And they were telling me I'm a hybrid also, but I look human
Okay.
and that I
Right.
go and do things that they can't because they don't look human. But it took forever for me to get that information or understand that information. And it took me several weeks to a month to accept it. It took a long time to accept it.
Hmm. I am sure, and that is why they kept saying you're not ready for that answer yet.
Yes, exactly right.
So, which is good that you remember. Let's see, when what I remember, I'm usually next to the patient, kind of holding their hand
Mhm.
in a teaching hospital. So for me, my experiences are a little different than yours,
Yours is on a
but
different type of spaceship, obviously.
right, right, yes. So that's why.
Well, you do you know
But
beings that you're around? Do you know
what was it?
what do the beings look like that you're around?
I had just about a bean of just about everything. And then, then in the windows, it's like each window was assigned a different species per se. So they would, whatever lighting or condition of environment they needed, it was specifically geared towards that species.
Was it in
And
a spaceship or was it an underground facility here on Earth?
no, it was in a spaceship.
It's a
That
spaceship.
yeah, I only because I remember going up.
Okay.
I remember that part. And also, it was a lot of the patients were human, and that's where I came in. Like I would just calm
Take
them down, not have them freaking out because then it was going to be worse for them. And so that's I don't have any medical background. And truthfully, the first time I in high school I walked into a hospital into the section where they had the bodies, I fainted. So right there and then I knew that was not my career choice.
yeah.
But
I've read people like that before. Oh,
uh, uh,
that's interesting, but I went to another spaceship afterward that which was called the Athena, which was a much
mhm,
larger spaceship, and it actually went and rescued trauma victims, like big traumas, like from wars and things like that. That
mhm.
and it was rescuing soldiers and humans, and that was, I mean, that operating room there could handle 100 patients an hour. It was huge, huge, huge
Mm.
place. So yeah, I went to there, and that was pretty fascinating too about how they handled everybody. It was an eye opener when somebody who would come in that was injured, they would go into what they called, I believe it was the transition room. I think it was, no, can't remember what the name of that room was. But anyway, they came in their room, and they would have all these therapists and social workers and everything in there and talking to them. Do you want to stay in your body, or do you want to move on to a new body or a new life? And so there
Mhm.
were decisions there. The people who wanted to move on to a new life and new body moved over to the transition room, and a transition team would come in and help them decide on what their future would be. I didn't have much to do with that room. I had
Yeah.
more to do with the ones that wanted to stay in their body. And so they would be moved to another room where we had the cloning tanks, and we had these big whirlpools where they would go in, and their consciousness would go out of their body and be
Mhm.
above, looking down at them. And so, and they were hooked up to a lot of tubes and things. So that rooms where I would work in or go into a lot, because a lot of them were injured soldiers, and they were young soldiers that would come in. And the first time it happened to them, and they're waking up and their consciousness, and they're looking down at their body, they would be freaking out. So
Mm.
one calming them down, going in and calming them down. So that was an interesting experience. Also, was working on the Athena.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I could imagine. It sounds it sounds so big that you can't even imagine what could be in there, and you're not going to be shown everything. So,
Oh no, I didn't see
um,
everything there. I
yeah.
was fascinated that they did have a zoo in there, because they rescued animals too. And
Mhm.
I remember there was a big forest fire. I can't remember which Amazon it was in, but I remember walking in on, and it had, I think, like 3 levels. I remember walking in on the second level, and there's a giraffe in my face. It was real interesting how
Uh,
that the people were in there were taking care of the animals. So
well, it obviously is confirmation that Earth is very important, and all living things on Earth are really important.
yes,
And they want to try to save as many as they can, because we're ourselves destroying.
oh yeah,
So they. I'm just happy that somebody's overlooking all that. So yes, the place that I went to, I could never remember the name of the spaceship, and that's my own thing. I can hardly ever remember any name of anything. Like I could look at a superstar, they tell me, but great, I remember the face. After that, I can't even remember their name at all. It's I don't know why it's not that. It
yes.
doesn't click.
No, see, I think you're more normal than me, because I don't know why I'm allowed to remember. So I've got journals and journals and journals of things that I've done, and allowed to remember. Now, the problem with my journals is, because I have such a nursing background and chiropractic, we do everything in shorthand. So everything is like written shorthand, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I didn't know I was going to be writing books about it. And I'm sitting there looking, going, oh my gosh, I've got to write a chapter about that. Look how much, look at what's missing. Yes, so that's been real interesting also.
Oh, I could imagine. I could imagine. And then, of course, as you're writing, and you could probably hear them say, "No, not about that. I want you to write up more on this and
Yeah, yeah.
focus more on that."
But most of it starts coming back to the experience when you start writing it. You start remembering the experience.
Right, right, right. Okay. And now, I like you stated, they said that you are a hybrid. Do you know where from? Are
Yeah,
you any?
what we call me is a human Octurian hybrid. And when I was on that first spaceship, that's what they taught me. is that whatever you look like, that's the word you use first. So if I look like an Arcturian, I would be an Arcturian human hybrid. But because I look
Okay.
human, I'm actually just a human hybrid. That's what
Okay.
so that's what they taught me in my first spaceship on how they wanted to be identified. Because I was going, "What do you want me to call you? What do you want me to call everybody?" And I got a big lesson on that. This is what you call this hybrid. Yeah, because I was on a hybrid spaceship, so it made it
Right, right.
a little easier. And I was only the only human hybrid on there at first. I brought some more
Mm.
on later.
Good, good. Now, do you get any specific lessons, or did they teach you anything more than what you need at that moment?
I'm not real sure because I've learned so much medically
Mm,
um, about everything they've taught me. And I've also learned a lot about the different species when I'm going in and rescuing, say, an Arcturian. They tend to have
mhm.
breathing issues here on Earth, and they have a cream that they put all over their body that they need to survive and breathe on Earth, and that's how they get in trouble when they get captured. Gray
Mm,
a lot of times they have difficulty with food that they're eating here on earth and they get in trouble. So I learned a lot of things like that. I also learned how to use energy in all different forms and getting in and out of these places. And I learned how to fly a spaceship, which was fun, which is a lot of fun. I love flying spaceships. And
I am sure.
there's a lot
Lucky.
of things I've learned, endless amount of things I've learned.
Right. Oh, that sounds good. See, I was looking to see if they had taught you anything new as far as a healing modality that you don't even know you had, but they they started the remembrance, or they
Well,
ignited the.
yeah, well, I mean, yes, it's removing and plants putting in implants, being able to change brain waves for people. Usually, it's emotional that they're changing the brain waves. So he's having depression issues, things like that. I've been taught so many different things, and then about cleaning out the chakras. I've been taught how to do that, and
Mhm.
so yes, there's a lot of things that I have been taught. But I know what you're trying to get is a structured modality. Did they teach you Reiki? Did they teach you this?
Mhm.
Which they keep saying, quit thinking linear. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Okay.
that, but that's what we want to do. We want to put everything in a box, and this is how it fits. So that's why I call myself a starseed healer because I can put anything under that heading.
Yes. Yes. No, and it's what you are.
Yeah,
It's a proper name, proper title. You learned about Earth's medical field, the chiropractic, and now you have non-Earth
right.
being type of anatomy and all that other stuff. Because I'm sure that their heart is not in the exact same place as ours, unless.
There's a lot of differences, but on Earth, I mean, chiropractically, even I can adjust people now energetically without having to use my hands. And so I've learned just a lot of things from color therapy, stone therapy, all those kind of things. It's just all comes under Starseed Healer.
Right, right. So now you've written the first book and then the second book. Do you
Mhm.
plan to write any more books? Do you
Oh, yeah.
plan?
Oh, yeah. I'm already writing my third book. I'm already in the 10th chapter of my third book. Yeah.
Congratulations, congratulations. And for everyone, the links will be in the description, so you don't have to write them down or anything like that. You could just look them up.
They're on,
Actually, you could probably just click on them and they'll take you there.
they're on Amazon.
Right, on Amazon. So now, what out of all this, in the very beginning, when you were going through all that and experiencing all that, besides thinking that you were crazy, because
Well,
everybody always thinks that
I
in the
did.
beginning.
I never thought I was crazy as much as because medical, and my explanation was I had to have a brain tumor. I was
Okay.
hallucinating was hallucinating and I needed to get an MRI. I kept running to my friend Meg every time I did a rescue mission or every time I saw a new extraterrestrial. I go running to her going, "This is what happened." And she would keep going, "I've known you for 15 years. You're okay." And then I would go, "I have a brain tumor." It's
Did you ever get that MRI, by the way?
I did have an MRI, but for a different reason than but I would say it took me all the way to probably December of 2020 to go finally I went, this is what I finally said after I was going on rescue mission. If I'm sick and dying with a brain tumor, this is how I want to go.
Why not? Why not? Now, the rescue missions, I'm sure some are very easy or easier than others.
Oh gosh,
It,
yes.
it, you know, is there anyone in particular that you want to share with us that was a little more complicated, that it took even your emotional state because it was like
Well, that's the
too.
yeah, I mentioned that one earlier, whereas I was rescuing a woman who was walking on the trails of North Carolina, and there were
Mhm,
some reptilians who were shape shifted into looking human that were on the trail ahead of her, and she was going to run into them. And there was a lot of emotional things, and I spent 12 hours planning it, talking to two different people on how to handle it. Anyway,
mhm,
all those details are written in my book. How I eventually rescued her, and and the moral issue I had was to either let her die or live because she kept asking me, "Please let me die like this."
mm,
So I had all those kind of issues to go through.
mm,
It was that.
mm. Now, was there one that was more physically tougher than others? Because you probably get to see ahead of time in order to plan these missions. So you're probably seeing.
But we're also is in the moment too, because things can happen while you're in the moment because we have to go in and unlock doors and change the cameras and do different things to be able to sneak in and sneak out and get these beings out. Um, so there's a lot of physicality in it. In fact, usually when I do those missions, even in the beginning when I went on our first spaceship, I'm
Mhm,
nauseated for several days, several weeks afterwards because it is so physically demanding, and
mhm,
I do have issues. When I was first going on the first spaceship, all I heard was go on a bland diet for 5 days. They kept telling me to do that, and I didn't know why. But I was on a bland diet, and then when they came and got me to take me on a spaceship, I knew why afterwards because I would not have been able to tolerate
ugh,
anything I had eaten. And it took me 2 weeks, and all I could eat was bread for like 2 weeks because it was so physically challenging for
mm,
me.
mm, mm. I could understand that. Now, I know every mission is different and all that. So you have people, you have missions that are on Earth, correct? Not just in other places, outer space.
I have a lot of missions on Earth.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, you know, I wish they would admit that soon.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, let's face it, everybody captures a being and they don't know what it is and they're going to examine it if
right.
nothing else. So,
Yes, yes.
yeah,
And
so
then that's some of part of the rescue is ones that are being experimented on, we were having to get out.
right, right. And that's just not morally should not even happen.
No,
Uh,
but well, you look at it and we do the same thing with our animals and things that
that's true.
happen. So, it's really eye-opening to realize how little they even think of our species, a dog or a cat or pig or
Hmm.
whatever.
Yes, yes, and all to learn, and yes, a lot of medicine has come out of it because, a lot of advancement because of it. So,
And that would probably be their argument of studying these extraterrestrials and experimenting on them.
mhm. Now, when when you realized you were going through a awakening moment, because I know some people, I've heard stories, some people like totally freak out. They just stay in their house, covers on. They don't want to go anywhere.
Well, for me, it was easy. I was already in for 2020.
Yeah.
So I could freak out in my house. All these things could happen to me because I didn't have anybody to be accountable for and had one person I trusted that I could go have it explained to me.
Hmm.
Now, after all this did happen, everybody started paying attention to me. Whenever I said, "Oh, there's a ghost in this house," nobody was laughing at me anymore. Or when I was saying, "I'm talking to your father," nobody was laughing at me anymore. So everybody changed around me that realized that I did have these gifts and they were not. I think it was like there's no stopping it or putting it back in the can or hiding
Right.
it.
Right. Good. Good. So they actually started respecting you and your thoughts and your abilities. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Now, did anybody at that point said asked you, "Oh, can you talk to so and so or whatever?" And before they wouldn't even, they would say, "Oh no, you're just hallucinating."
Well, yes, but I would not be obvious about it, saying, "Oh, I've got somebody here wanting to talk to you." I'm not one of those people who will walk up to somebody and go, "This person's here." I would have to
Right.
be comfortable or already know I have to know the person and
Mm-hmm.
tell what's going on. So, I know a lot of mediums will walk up to somebody and say, me, if I'm out in public, I'm very introverted. I'm shut down. Nothing's coming into me, at that time, nothing. So I have to be pretty much in my own world or around one person or something comfortable before I'll
Right.
even allow something to come in. Most, fascinating is when I'm on YouTube and I'm answering people's questions and a loved one will come in and they'll come in because I'm open at that time,
Right.
and they'll come hard and strong and get up in front of the line and going, "Me, talk to me." Be as pushy over the other side as they can be on this side.
Uh-huh. Yep, yep. No, I'm like you. I don't go up to people and say, "Oh, I got a message for you from so and so. Do you want to hear it?" I'm like, no, if it's meant for me to tell that person, somehow that person will find me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's because no, like the Long Island medium, God bless her, but I could not do that. I cannot just go up to somebody and say, "Oh, I got
Well,
this."
the thing is I'm so shut down when I'm out in public that they can't get through. I mean,
Mm,
I really, protected, shut down because I
right.
need to really treasure that energy that you have for when you do start connecting because I don't think people realize how much it does sometimes takes out of you when you do connect to that kind of energy.
Those are the chocolate brownies.
Yes, exactly.
Chocolate brownies are your payment for doing that.
That's a good one.
Well, I know for myself, sometimes when I really connect and it's a long session, I need something with chocolate or sugar or a snack to replenish what has been used up.
Yeah,
Because I know, yeah, it
and
affects the physical.
yeah, and
It's,
take a nap if it's
yeah.
really hard. I have to sometimes because I do a healing show once a month, and it's called the Solaris Healing Center.
Hmm.
And it is a center that's on Solaris Star that I was taken to, and it's a center that actually our power animals, our guides, our masters, angels, all those people go there to get their own healing. And
Hmm.
when I was there, I was just standing against the wall because I was in all of this greatness that was in there. But then they allowed me to bring that energy to Earth to help others. Now, whenever I started that show, I was done at the end of it. That so much energy was coming through that healing center through me to the people who were in the chat and who were needing some special help that it took me, I don't know how long before. I mean, I went straight to bed. I was so exhausted that it took so much. I have somebody who helps me, Terry, who comes on with me. So it's taken a lot of that off. So now I'm okay now.
That's good. That's good. But it's funny because the last 2 weeks you're the second person that's said something about Solaris, which is
Oh,
very interesting. Yes. Um, I wonder what that's about because usually I don't get that kind of sequence.
well, it's a
But
special store that I went to that
yeah,
actually the being, which his name was Monto, he was a gold being, taught me how to fly a spaceship, and that was his home, and he took me there. And on that star, there is the Solaris Healing Center plus a flight school, which is where he came from, the flight school, and so those two things are there. And so I've
wow,
been doing probably the Solaris Healing Center probably about 3 years now, about once a month.
wow. I'm gonna have to look that up too. See, all this
We'll be,
stuff I gotta look up now.
yeah, we'll be doing that. Our next one is February 7th, and
Okay.
that's Saturday, February 7th, and it'll be at 12 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock Pacific Time. We do
Okay.
Solaris Healing Center.
I, I will have to look for it. So. Now, we are coming close. Is there anything else that you haven't shared that you wish to share?
Um, I can't think of anything. I think one of the things that people are thinking that they want to know, when's the government going to reveal the extraterrestrial? Well, anyway, they're revealing themselves to the individuals and that they're going from bottom up. They're also asking the people who recognize that they are hybrids or
Mhm.
walk-ins and things like that connected to extraterrestrials to step forward and start talking about it. And you don't have to step forward like in your family who doesn't believe in everything, but step forward into a group because a group gives it more energy, and
Mhm.
they eventually will reveal themselves. The government will be forced to eventually accept that they're here, but by that time, we're all going to be so used to seeing them, working with them, and that it's not going to be any big deal. But we're going to have to help the others who are traumatized by this happening. So we're to prepare ourselves to help others that have this will be a first, a realization that there's something bigger and better than they are, and to give them grace when it does happen.
Mhm. Wonderful, wonderful, and it's true. Humanity, not all of humanity is ready to hear that they're not the only ones, and
Right.
out here. But the it, I've met quite a few hybrids, and it's amazing how each one is so different because you in some of them you could really tell that they're hybrids,
Right.
and you definitely could pass off for human without a problem.
Yes. Yes.
Except your eyes are intense.
Yeah.
That, so that's one of the giveaways there.
Right.
But it's great. It is great, and the good part about it is because you're more introvert than extrovert, so you kind of want to be just like I'm not here.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm going, why would they choose somebody like me who's introverted that I'm not just out there? But it is what it's
Well, they chose you because the background, you
because I look human.
you that too, and also because you were willing to do this.
Yes.
And you were willing to learn, you were willing to understand, you were willing to face what it was, and you're also willing to take on those missions that could be dangerous,
Yes. Yes.
and so that's very important. Your willingness and your compassion for all of the work.
Yes.
not just the person that you're rescuing, or the being that you're rescuing, I should say, but for the work in general. So
Right.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Sometimes you say, I say congratulations. The person looks at me like, oh well.
It is congratulations because I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
But I do
Uh,
appreciate having me on the show. I do appreciate it.
Oh, it was my pleasure. We had spoken before, and this is it's just so nice and refreshing, that to hear your story and to hear all about it and your willingness to share, because not a lot of people are. They're still afraid, and even though you still have your boundaries and your, you know, walls up when you go outside, but you're still willing to give more of what you get.
Right.
So we all appreciate that. And just want to say thank you.
All
And
right.
please know that you could come back anytime. And my audience is going to definitely love you, because I could hear all the questions already. Everybody's going to be saying, "Oh, we need to talk. We need to talk." So if you need to talk to her, all of the contact information is going to be in the description. Again, you don't even have to copy it. You don't have to write it down. All of it is going to be there. Please do contact her because you want to know more about it. Get her books and join her in the podcasts and her healing sessions. All right. Thank you, Dr. Gail.
All right. Thank you, Glenda.
Love you and have a great one. And please hold on.